Welcome to Hemometrics and the dawn of optimal patient care, bringing critical thinking back into dialysis. This brief training session will highlight how you can use Critline technology to improve patient care and obtain quality outcomes previously impossible in hemodialysis. Critline is an outcome management tool for fluid and vascular access monitoring, incorporating the latest photo-optical technology to non-invasively measure absolute hematocrit, percent blood volume change, continuous oxygen saturation, and access function indicators. Critline's patented optical technology shines harmless red light through the blood, specifically measuring hematocrit and oxygen saturation. Monitoring these parameters can assist you in improving outcomes by achieving ideal dry weights, reducing hospitalizations, and minimizing intradialytic morbidities. Critline simply provides optimal patient care. During dialysis, a disposable blood chamber is connected to the arterial side of the dialyzer in line with the arterial blood tubing, allowing the Critline to non-invasively monitor whole blood parameters. Now we'd like to introduce you to the Critline monitor, its components, and their use. The Critline monitor has a removable power supply. Always keep the Critline plugged into a grounded wall outlet using the power supply adapter provided. The Critline's internal batteries permit fully functional monitoring in the event of a power failure or during remote spot checking or data transfer. The batteries are constantly charging when the Critline is plugged into a properly grounded AC outlet. Without AC power, a fully charged Critline will hold a charge up to 2 hours until the batteries are depleted. As the batteries approach depletion, the monitor will show a low battery message and a flashing light. A 2-minute countdown will take place before the monitor shuts down. If the monitor shuts down due to battery depletion, turn the monitor off, plug the monitor into the AC power source, ensure the green charging light is on, wait 20 seconds, then turn the monitor back on. Disposable blood chambers are sold separately in individual sterile packages with a 3-year shelf life. Also included are the reference manual and technical notes, which contain details on all the topics presented in this training presentation. The sensor clip is the most unique part of the Critline. It contains optical components and must be handled with care. It should not be submerged in any liquid. The docking station is conveniently placed on the side of the monitor to protect the sensor clip when not in use and to house the verification filter. The verification filter functions as a quality assurance component and is used to verify that the Critline is ready for clinical use. Verification of accuracy should be performed for every day of patient use. Now let's look at the back panel on the rear of the monitor. From the left, the on-off switch, the plug-in jack for the power supply, the built-in sensor clip cord, a serial port for printing or data downloading, and a port for parallel printing. The keypad is adjacent to the display screen on the front of the Critline monitor and includes a menu key, an up key, down key, and select key. The red indicator on the front of the monitor is a warning or alert light that notifies of impending problems. The green charging light under the select key shows that the Critline is plugged in and running off the AC power source. Now let's move into a specific discussion about how the Critline functions as a valuable tool for fluid management. In the human body, fluid is located in 3 main compartments. Within the cells, intracellular fluid. Between the cells, extracellular or tissue fluid. And in the circulating blood volume or bloodstream, intravascular fluid. A person with functioning kidneys, weighing approximately 70 kilograms, has about 5 liters of circulating blood, roughly 17 liters of extracellular fluid, and about 23 liters of fluid within the cells. Regardless of fluid and salt intake, the kidneys do a remarkable job of maintaining the body at dry weight, the normal point. However, when the kidneys fail, the body can no longer eliminate fluid effectively. As excess fluid accumulates, it is distributed to the various compartments of the body. In a 70-kilogram person, blood volume can't increase beyond about 7 liters. Therefore, additional fluid is forced into the tissue or extracellular space. This space can increase well over 5 extra liters before showing symptoms of edema and can continue to expand to over 40 liters. Excessive expended blood volume creates many detrimental cardiac problems, such as left ventricular hypertrophy, congestive heart failure, and hypertension. To minimize cardiac problems, it is necessary to remove the excess fluid by hemodialysis using the ultrafiltration process. The goal of ultrafiltration is to achieve ideal dry weight by removing the patient's excess fluid. This is accomplished by first removing the excess fluid from the intravascular space, thereby reducing blood volume. As fluid is removed and blood volume decreases, fluid shifts into the intravascular space from the tissues and intracellular space, a process known as plasma refilling. The refill rate is patient-specific and may actually vary during individual dialysis treatments. It is critical to achieve a balance between a patient's refill rate and the ultrafiltration rate in order to remove enough fluid to achieve true dry weight while avoiding intradialytic symptoms such as cramping and hypotension. If the intravascular space empties without adequate refilling, a person may experience intradialytic symptoms or a crash, even though they are still overloaded in the other spaces. A crash does not mean dry weight has been achieved. Using CritLine's graphical display of blood volume changes, proactive steps can be taken to manage fluid removal. To monitor a hemodialysis treatment using the CritLine, first attach a disposable blood chamber to the arterial header of the dialyzer. Then attach the arterial blood line to the blood chamber. It is more convenient to attach the chamber prior to priming the system. The sensor clip can be attached to the chamber at any time. Select Patient Run, then enter the patient's information. After dialysis is initiated and whole blood has circulated for 3 to 5 minutes to ensure removal of saline prime, select Start Run to proceed directly to monitoring. The CritLine now begins to monitor the blood, and in approximately a minute, the initial or starting hematocrit and oxygen saturation values will be displayed on the screen. As soon as this takes place, you could set an hematocrit limit alarm, which will be discussed shortly. In 10 seconds, the screen will automatically display the blood volume profile. The blood volume graph initially displays a 4-hour treatment, with each hour represented by a vertical line, but rescales up to any treatment length until the memory is full. If treatment is started with no data in the memory, the CritLine will monitor up to 26 hours. The blood volume graph updates every 60 seconds during the treatment and will be the reference for fluid management decisions. Numerical values in the boxes at the bottom of the screen are updated every second. Now, let's make sure we understand the relationship between the hematocrit and the fluid management process. Hematocrit represents the percentage of red blood cells making up the blood volume. This test tube example of a patient's initial hematocrit shows that about 1/3 of the tube is red blood cells and the other 2/3 is plasma. By removing fluid from the blood via ultrafiltration, the hematocrit is increased. Therefore, when the blood volume is reduced, the hematocrit increases. The CritLine monitors these changes and shows them in terms of percent blood volume change. This graph helps to demonstrate the accuracy of hematocrit readings by CritLine as compared to a gold standard lab measurement. CritLine provides immediate, real-time, CLIA-exempt hematocrit readings. Hemoglobin is estimated from the hematocrit value and is numerically displayed on the CritLine for convenience in dosing Epigen. Each treatment starts at 0, signifying that no blood volume change has yet occurred. This point also represents the starting hematocrit, visible on the startup screen by pressing the menu key once. Once monitoring has begun, it takes several minutes for a blood volume trend to be displayed. The CritLine monitor then shows how fluid removal by ultrafiltration is affecting the blood volume of the patient. Guyton described the relationship between extracellular fluid and blood volume in this curve. By utilizing the A, B, and C profiles of the Guyton curve. The CRIT line provides improved patient care through precise fluid management. In this example of a portion of a monitored treatment, the patient's blood volume stayed constant over the first hour of treatment in spite of fluid removal. This is described in this area of the Guyton model. The refill rate is equal to or greater than the ultrafiltration rate. In most cases, this is an indication that more fluid is available to be removed, and the patient may not be at an accurate dry weight. This treatment type is classified as an A profile or fluid overloaded. Generally, the ultrafiltration rate should be increased to cause a gradual blood volume reduction to occur. The ideal rate of blood volume change is patient and treatment specific, but on average is a -3 to -8% reduction per hour. A treatment at this rate is classified as a B profile and is generally safe for a patient whose urinary output is less than 1,000 milliliters per day. Generally, intradialytic symptoms do not occur at this fluid removal rate. During this portion of the patient's treatment, the ultrafiltration rate slightly exceeded the patient's ability to refill. Guyton's curve depicts that the blood volume is being gradually reduced to a more normal level. Treatments of this type are classified as B profiles. Near the end of this treatment example, the blood volume begins to more rapidly decrease. Plasma refilling is no longer able to keep up with the rate of fluid removal. The patient eventually experiences a symptom such as cramping or hypotension and requires nurse intervention. Guyton's curve shows this as a C profile, where rapid fluid removal results in blood volume being too quickly depleted. Although fluid remains in the tissue and the patient is still wet, the fluid cannot refill into the intravascular space fast enough to keep up with the ultrafiltration rate. In this case, the ultrafiltration rate was set to minimum, less than or equal to 400 milliliters per minute, and the patient was moved into the Trendelenburg position. These interventions caused the blood volume to rapidly increase. An intervention marker was added by pressing the up or down arrow. This blood volume increase or plasma refill indicates that more fluid is still available and that the patient is not at an ideal dry weight. After 10 to 15 minutes, the recommended time for a refill check, the dialysis was continued at a rate that the patient could tolerate. Guyton's curve shows the body's fluid compartment levels moving to a more normal condition, and fluid removal continues down the curve. This critical blood volume level identified by the hematocrit level at which the patient experienced an intradialytic symptom is called the hematocrit threshold. If symptoms have occurred, this hematocrit will be the maximum level achieved during the treatment and can be viewed by pressing the menu key once. No matter where on Guyton's curve this level is reached, symptoms can occur. In this profile, symptoms are present, yet the patient is still not at a dry weight and may actually have visible signs of edema. During this and future treatments, the hematocrit threshold can be used to avoid symptoms by selecting a hematocrit limit 1 to 2 units below the hematocrit at which symptoms occurred. The CRIT line will sound an audible and visual alarm when the hematocrit limit is reached. This alarm line, or CRIT line, provides a visual marker of the area where the patient may begin to experience symptoms if blood volume continues to be depleted. To mute the alarm for 5 minutes, press any key. Once a hematocrit threshold has been established for a patient, more advanced fluid removal techniques can be performed. The hematocrit threshold will remain valid for weeks unless the red blood cell mass changes. In this treatment, for example, the blood volume is more rapidly removed in the beginning of the treatment. An ultrafiltration rate is used that allows the blood volume to approach the hematocrit threshold. Then the removal rate is reduced to keep the blood volume just above the critical level at the hematocrit limit. This technique maximizes the amount of fluid that can be removed in a treatment and is referred to as flying the curve. The CRIT line monitors oxygen saturation throughout the treatment. On an arterial blood supply through access needles, oxygen saturation should be 90% or greater. In the case of venous blood supply, i.e. catheters, measured oxygen saturation is generally between 60 to 80. If measured oxygen saturation falls below these parameters suggesting hypoxemia, clinical protocol for administering oxygen should be followed. Hypoxemia causes the release of adenosine, a potent vasodilator, which in turn causes hypotension. The oxygen saturation profile screen can be selected by pressing the menu key twice and selecting SAT. It is important to note that the CritLine is one more tool that the clinician can utilize in ensuring a safe and effective treatment. CritLine must always be used in conjunction with existing clinical information before altering a dialysis treatment. Using data obtained through the CritLine monitor will help you identify and proactively prevent the causes of intradialytic morbidity. In most cases, monitoring each patient's treatment with CritLine and intervening as necessary to achieve a gradual blood volume reduction will result in more accurate dry weights and ideal patient outcomes. Visit our website at hemometrix.com for more information about how CritLine 3 TQA can help you successfully maximize fluid removal. If you desire more information or support with the CritLine 3 TQA monitor, contact Hemometrix at 1-800-546-5463.